Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Be sure to subscribe to our channel. We publish new videos every day. Don't forget, grab your smartphone and download the Lava Matra app and stay in touch. Guru Maharaja's message is your advantage. The following is a Caitanya Leela compilation given by His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Mahārāja on January 8th, 2022 in Sri Mayapur, India.
Pangon Langayate Giri
Sri
Gurum Deenatharinam Sri Caitanya Ishwaram
Hare Om Tat Sat.
Hare Om.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So today we are continuing to read from the Sri Kṛṣṇa Caitanya book compilation class. And today's chapter is entitled as Maharashtriyan Brāhmaṇa approaches Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu to extend him an invitation. Under this section, how all the residents of Varanasi became Vaishnavas. Caitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 25, text 1. Krishna Vimukh Mayavadi ke Krishna Unmukhkari Guru
Vaishnavi Kritya Sannyasi Mukhan Khasi Nivasina Sanatanam Susamskritya Prabhur Niladrimagamat.
After converting into Vaishnavas, all the residents of Varanasi who were headed by the sannyasis, and after completely educating and instructing Sanatana Goswami there, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu returned to Jagannath Puri.
And this is a synopsis of Lord Chaitanya's activities in Varanasi.
So this is a synopsis of Lord Chaitanya's activities in Varanasi.
We have already heard instructions he gave to Sanatana Goswami.
We have already heard instructions he gave to Sanatana Goswami.
Now we are about to hear how he made all the residents of Varanasi, led by the Mayavadi sannyasis, Vaishnavas.
Now we are about to hear how he made all the sannyasis, residents of Varanasi, into Vaishnavas. Caitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 25, text 3.
সনাতন কে কাশিতে 2 মাস কাল শিক্ষা
Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed Sri Sanatana Goswami in all the conclusions of devotional service for 2 consecutive months.
Lord Chaitanya, coming from Vrindavan, passing through Prayag, where he met Rupa Goswami in Varanasi.
Lord Chaitanya, coming from Vrindavan, passing through Prayag, met Rupa Goswami
And met Rupa Goswami.
and met Rupa Goswami.
Then he arrived at Varanasi.
And then he arrived in Varanasi.
He was instructing Sanatana Goswami
where he was instructing Sanatana Goswami
and preaching to the residents of Varanasi.
Caitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 25, text 4.
পরমানন্দ কীর্তনিয়ার প্রভু সেবা মানন্দ কীর্তনিয়ার সঙ্গে প্রভুরে
For as long as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in Varanasi, Paramananda Kirtaniya, who was a friend of Chandrasekhara's, chanted the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and other songs to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in a very humorous way.
Paramananda Caitanya sang Hare Krishna mantra to Lord Chaitanya.
Paramananda Kirtaniya sang Hare Krishna Mahamantra to Lord Chaitanya. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 25, text 5.
তো বাঞ্ছা পূরণার্থই কাশীর মায়াবাদীর উদ্ধার সাধন। সন্ন্যাসীর গণ প্রভুরে যদি উপেক্ষিল ভক্ত দুঃখ কৃপা হইল।
When the Mayavadi sannyasis at Varanasi criticized Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Lord's devotees became very much depressed. To satisfy them, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed his mercy to the sannyasis.
Lord Chaitanya is Bhagavad Vatsala. He likes to satisfy his devotees.
Lord Chaitanya is Bhakta Vatsala. He likes to satisfy his devotees.
But since the devotees were upset because of the criticism of Mayavadi sannyasi,
But since the devotees were upset because of the criticism of the Mayavadi sannyasis,
Lord Chaitanya decided to deliver them.
Lord Chaitanya decided to deliver them. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 25, text 6.
পূর্বে আদিলীলায় মায়াবাদীর উদ্ধার বর্ণিত, পূর্ণ সংক্ষেপে বর্ণন। নাসিরে কৃপা পূর্বে লিখিয়াছ বিস্তারিয়া, উদ্দেশ্যে সংক্ষেপে করিয়া।
In the 7th chapter of the Adi Lila, I have already elaborately described Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's deliverance of the sannyasis at Varanasi, but I shall briefly repeat it in this chapter.
Here we're going back to the Adi Lila 7th chapter to give the details in the chronological order it fits in.
Here we are going back to the Adi Lila 7th chapter in the chronological order that it fits in.
Although Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya dealt with it earlier because it was so important to defeat Mayavadi philosophy.
Although Krishnadas Kaviraj had mentioned it earlier because it was so important to defeat the Mayavadi sannyasis.
But putting it here in its chronological order.
From a point we can hear in chronological order. Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila, chapter 7, text 39.
ভক্ত কইল যত মেলেচ্ছ আদি, সবে এড়াইল মাত্র কাশীর মায়াবাদী।
All were converted into devotees of Lord Chaitanya, even the Malechas and Yavanas. Only the impersonalist followers of Sankaracharya evaded him.
So it shows how offensive Mayavadi sannyasis are.
So this shows how offensive the Mayavadi sannyasis are.
Even though all the Malechas and Yavanas are delivered, but they are not.
That even the fallen Malechas and Yavanas are delivered, but they are not.
But Lord Chaitanya devised the means to also deliver them.
But Lord Chaitanya devised the means to also deliver them. Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila, chapter 7, text 40.
বৃন্দাবন যাইতে প্রভু রহিলা কাশিতে, মায়াবাদীগণ তারে লাগিলা নিন্দিতে।
While Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was passing through Varanasi on his way to Vrindavan, the Mayavadi sannyasi philosophers blasphemed against him in many ways.
On his way to Vrindavan, he passed through Varanasi, but he did not meet the Mayavadi sannyasis who were offending him.
On his way to Vrindavan, he passed through Varanasi, but he did not meet the Mayavadis who were
Sannyasis
sannyasis
who were offending him.
Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila, chapter 7, text 41.
সন্ন্যাসী হইয়া করে গায়ন নাচন না করে বেদান্ত পার করে সংকীর্তন.
The blasphemer said, although a sannyasi, he does not take interest in the study of Vedanta, but instead always engages in chanting and dancing in Sankirtan.
Our Chaitanya process was Sankirtan,
Lord Chaitanya's process was Sankirtan,
chanting and dancing.
Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila, chapter 7, text 42.
মূর্খ সন্ন্যাসী নিজ ধর্ম নাহি জানে ভাবুক হইয়া ফেরে ভাবুকের সনে.
This Chaitanya Mahāprabhu is an illiterate sannyasi and therefore does not know his real function. Guided only by his sentiments, he wanders about in the company of other sentimentalists.
Although Lord Chaitanya was the greatest of scholars, they underestimated him.
Although Lord Chaitanya was the greatest of scholars, they underestimated him.
And watched him as being a mere sentimentalist.
They blasphemed him as being a mere sentimentalist. Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila, chapter 7, text 43.
ঈশ্বর শুনিয়া প্রভু হাসে মনে মনে উপেক্ষা করিয়া কারো না কইল সম্ভাষণে.
Hearing all this blasphemy, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu merely smiled to himself, rejected all these accusations, and did not talk with the Mayavadis. Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila, chapter 7, text 44.
করিয়া কইল মথুরা গমন মথুরা দেখিয়া পুনঃ কইল আগমন.
Thus neglecting the blasphemy of the Varanasi Mayavadis, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu proceeded to Mathura, and after visiting Mathura, he returned to meet the situation.
Lord Chaitanya had tolerated what he thought Benedict and Mayavadi sannyasis had returned to Varanasi.
So Lord Chaitanya, he ignored the Mayavadi sannyasis, but he thought to deliver them. And so, after coming back from Mathura, he did so. Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila, chapter 7, text 45.
কাশীতে লেখ শূদ্র শ্রীচন্দ্র শেখর তার ঘরে রইলা প্রভু স্বতন্ত্র ঈশ্বর.
This time, Lord Chaitanya stayed at the house of Chandrasekhara. Although he was regarded as a Sudra or Kayasta, for the Lord, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is completely independent. Purport: Lord Chaitanya stayed at the house of Chandrasekhara, a clerk. Although a sannyasi is not supposed to reside in a Sudra's house, 500 years ago, especially in Bengal, it was the system that persons who were born in the families of Brahmanas were accepted as Brahmanas, and all those who took birth in other families, even the higher castes, namely the Kshatriyas and Vaishyas, were considered Sudras, non-Brahmanas. Therefore, although Sri Chandrasekhara was a clerk from a Kayasta family in Upper India, he was considered a Sudra. Similarly, Vaishyas, especially those of the Suvarna Vanik community, were accepted as Sudras in Bengal, and even the Vaidyas, who were generally physicians, were also considered Sudras. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, however, did not accept this artificial principle, which was introduced in society by self-interested men, and later the Kayastas, Vaidyas, and Vaniks all began to accept the sacred thread, despite objections from the so-called Brahmanas. Before the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Suvarna Vanik class was condemned by Valal Sena, who was then the king of Bengal, due to a personal grudge. In Bengal, the Suvarna Vanik class are always very rich, for they are bankers and dealers in gold and silver. Therefore, Valal Sena used to borrow money from a Suvarna Vanik banker. Valal Sena's bankruptcy later obliged the Suvarna Vanik banker to stop advancing money to him. And thus, Valal Sena became angry and condemned the entire Suvarna Vanik society as belonging to the Sudra community. He tried to induce the Brahmanas not to accept the Suvarna Vaniks as followers of the instructions of the Vedas under the Brahminical directions. But although some Brahmanas approved of Valal Sena's actions, others did not. Thus, the Brahmanas also became divided amongst themselves, and those who supported the Suvarna Vaniks class were rejected from the Brahmana community. At the present day, the same biases are still being followed. There are many Vaishnava families in Bengal whose members, although not actually born in Brahmanas, act as acharyas by initiating disciples and offering the sacred thread as enjoined in the Vaishnava Tantras. For example, in the families of Thakur Raghunandana Acharya, Thakur Krishnadas, Navani Hoda, and Rasikananda Deva, a disciple of Shyamananda Prabhu, the sacred thread ceremony is performed, as it is for the caste Goswamis, and this system has continued for the past 300 to 400 years. Excepting the disciples born in Brahmana families, there are bona fide spiritual masters who have the facility to worship the Shaligram Shila, which is worshipped with the deity. As of this writing, Shaligram Shila worship has not yet been introduced in our Krishna consciousness movement, but soon it will be introduced in all our temples as an essential function of Archan Marg, deity worship.
Divine Grace, Bhaktivedanta Swami,
His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada,
introduced the worship of Shaligram Shila in the Ishan Mayapur Chandrodaya Mandir.
Introduced the system of worship to the Shaligram Shila in the Mayapur Chandrodaya Mandir.
And hence, therefore, this was introduced in all the temples of ISKCON around the world.
And therefore, this was introduced in all the temples of ISKCON around the world.
So, you understand from this that the caste Brahmanas were changed according to some political considerations.
So we understand from this that the caste Brahmanas were doing things under some political considerations.
King Valal Sena had a grudge and could outcast all variety of society.
King Valal Sena had a grudge, and thus
he made a decision not to recognize Suvarna Maliks.
He made a decision not to recognize Suvarna Maliks.
This was accepted by some caste Brahmanas.
And this was accepted by some caste Brahmanas.
And not by others.
And not by others. Caitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 7, text 46. As a matter of principle, Lord Chaitanya regularly accepted his food at the house of Tapan Mishra. He never mixed with other sannyasis, nor did he accept invitations from them. Purport. This exemplary behavior of Lord Chaitanya definitely proves that a Vaishnava sannyasi cannot accept invitations from Mayavadi sannyasis or intimately mix with them.
Lord Chaitanya taught Mayavadi Kotasunle Hoya.
Lord Chaitanya taught Mayavadi Kota Sunle Hoyle Sarvanas.
One loses his spiritual standing by listening to the blasphemies of the Mayavadi sannyasis.
One loses his spiritual standing by listening to the Mayavadi sannyasis.
So he followed the system of not mixing with them.
So he followed the system of not mixing with them. Caitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 7, text 47. When Sanatana Goswami came from Bengal, he met Lord Chaitanya at the house of Tapan Mishra, where Lord Chaitanya remained continuously for 2 months to teach him devotional service. Purport. Lord Chaitanya taught Sanatana Goswami in the line of disciplic succession. Sanatana Goswami was a very learned scholar in Sanskrit and other languages. But until instructed by Lord Chaitanya Mahāprabhu, he did not write anything about Vaishnava behavior. His very famous book, Hari Bhakti Vilas, which gives directions for Vaishnava candidates, was written completely in compliance with the instructions of Sri Chaitanya Mahāprabhu. In this Hari Bhakti Vilas, Sri Sanatana Goswami gives definite instructions that by proper initiation by a bona fide spiritual master, one can immediately become a Brahmana. In this connection, he says, as bell metal is turned to gold when mixed with mercury in an alchemical process, so one who is properly trained and initiated by a bona fide spiritual master immediately becomes a Brahmana. Sometimes those born in Brahmana families protest this, but they have no strong argument against this principle. By the grace of Kṛṣṇa and his devotee, one's life can change. This is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam by the words Jahati, Bandham and Sudhyanti. Jahati Bandham indicates that a living entity is conditioned by a particular type of body. The body is certainly an impediment, but one who associates with a pure devotee and follows his instructions can avoid this impediment and become a regular Brahmana by initiation under his strict guidance. Srila Jiva Goswami states how a non-Brahmana can be turned into a Brahmana by the association of a pure devotee. Tava Vishnave Namaha, Lord Vishnu is so powerful that he can do anything he likes. Therefore, it is not difficult for Vishnu to change the body of a devotee who is under the guidance of a pure devotee of the Lord.
And the Bhakti movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
In the Bhakti movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu,
one can even be born in a lowly family like Chandala and Vacha.
Even if they are born in a lowly family like Chandala or Malecha,
attention and they can be purified by taking shelter of pure devotee of Lord Krishna.
As mentioned, they can become purified by taking shelter of a pure devotee of Lord Vishnu.
Their body will be considered a proper body by process of Krishna conscious initiation.
And their body will be considered a proper body by the process of initiation.
While Lord Caitanya was coming from Vrindavan, he stayed in Benares and taught the Swami for 2 months.
How Lord Caitanya, he came from Vrindavan to Benares and met Sanatana Goswami and taught him for 2 months.
At that time, he delivered the Mayavadi sannyasis.
At that time, he delivered the Mayavadi sannyasi. Like I said, first part of the chapter entitled Maharashtriyan Brāhmaṇa approaches Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to extend him an invitation under the section How All the Residents of Varanasi Became Vaishnavas.
Do you like our ad-free videos? Be sure to subscribe to our channel. We publish new videos every day, and don't forget to like and share our channel.